Mr. Popоски, is it any chance to have the name issue solved in near future?
Very difficult to answer a question on an issue that is completely logical and has been pending for 20 years. What I can say is that Macedonia has a full commitment and it will do its utmost to continue on the road of European and NATO integration. That is our main political target. In this context, we have been engaged and we have launched a very large series of initiatives towards our southern neighbor that has obstructed the integration paths to NATO and the European Union. Very practical initiatives, and the hope that the overall regional interest and the interest of the European Union will be dominant to the reflexes of blockades that we have suffered from in the past. Whether this will happen, it is quite ungrateful to judge, because we have witnessed 20 years of very irrational dispute. At the current situation, Greece faces some difficult challenges, mainly related to the economic file, and not enough political attention is paid at all to the bilateral issue that has been an impediment to us. We hope that our Greek neighbors will focus a little bit more on the regional integration and will be motivated to relieve the obstructions that they have imposed in the past, because that will be a prerequisite to any sort of a solution and getting closer in the European context. I think it is a main priority, and it is a main priority especially in the context of calling upon European solidarity these days.
Well, you had a meeting with your Greek counterpart in New York last week. Did you make any kind of success in the issue?
It was a first meeting with the new Greek Minister of Foreign Affairs. So it was a courtesy call, getting to know each other, an open discussion between foreign ministers of two neighboring countries. Outside the legendary name issue, relations between Greece and Macedonia are really excellent. At the practical level, we have been able to support the Greek economy even during times of crisis with a very large tourist presence, with Greek companies operating in Macedonia for a very long period of time in a very successful manner. So these are things that are bringing both of our nations together. The fact that some 20 years ago there was a political decision to put a non-substantial issue such as the name issue in our bilateral relations has given a very negative taste of it. The messages that I have conveyed to my colleague were the messages of necessity to work together on European and NATO integration. I made very clear that Greece is the country that will benefit the most from Macedonia's accession, and that making any kind of profits on blocking its next door neighbor is not something that reflects the European spirit. In addition to that, I have also reflected to two major dimensions of the European integration. These are democratic principles and rule of law. The first one means that according to democratic principles, it is quite illogical to put or to obstruct your neighbor on the basis of how he feels, what his nationality is, or what his beliefs are. And the second one, rule of law, Greece has a legal obligation from the interim agreement back in '95 not to block Macedonia's accession in international organizations. With the International Court of Justice judgment from last year, it has been very clearly made that Greece should not repeat this behavior in the future. So I think that on these 2 points, we would expect from the Greek government a reasonable response. Macedonia is there to have or to produce a substantial interlocutor in these discussions and to bring us a little bit closer over a resolution of any bilateral issue we might have.
Well, let me check the exact wording, but Greek foreign minister was calling fair settlement resulting in a name with geographical qualifier. Could you imagine what that could be?
Well, I can hardly imagine anything, since for the last 20 years everything that we've done was fulfilling Greek wishes about something that only concerned Macedonia. For example, we have accepted at the time a historical qualifier that they wanted to have in front of our reference used in the United Nations, which is the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. At that time, it was a historical qualifier that they wished. I don't know what may change the mind and thinking in other directions, but I don't
maybe,
think that any
maybe Northern Macedonia.
Sorry?
Maybe Northern Macedonia.
Well, I don't think what is the wish. I can only tell you what is a democratic principle, and that is the name of a country. The identity can only be decided by its own people. We have already made a very extensive list of concessions and promises which have been kept on one side, and on the other side the only promise or engagement that has been made, that was not to block our international organizations integration, has been violated. In that kind of context, one can hardly imagine that by adding another request to the list of wishes that needed to be fulfilled is something that is going to resolve the issue. I do understand that we have a common interest, and I believe that in no respect whatsoever Macedonia does not represent neither a security nor a territorial integrity threat to Greece. If these are the basic principles, the situations of regional or geographic denominations not corresponding to state borders is something that you have practically everywhere in Europe. Take Luxembourg, which is a country and a region in Belgium. It hasn't been a reason to put an obstruction of Luxembourg's membership into the European Union, not even to NATO. I don't see why in this particular case that would be the reason. And I think that if we were both part of the European Union and NATO, there will be no reasons for any sorts of fears. So adding up a list of the requests in a situation where you don't respect the previously taken engagements is not a very viable justification, I believe.
Are there any serious talks going on at the moment?
As far as we know, not really. Why? Because the engagement of the second party in this dispute has been very limited. Their attention and their political prioritization has been to other fields, which are driven by the economic and debt crisis that is ongoing in Greece. We have been very open and we have encouraged a higher exposure to each other. We will like to see more responses from the Greek side, more meetings, seeing this resulting in something that would be acceptable from both of the countries, and definitely respecting previously undertaken engagements. That is the only framework in which I think relations and overcoming a bilateral issue that is standing for a very long period of time can be manageable.
And what model could it be?
What model of?
What model could it be then?
Of discussions?
Yes.
Well, we have the UN framework. So in this UN framework there is a mediator from the United Nations that has a job description to mediate between both countries. He has been engaged for the last 17 years. There hasn't been results, but we are definitely committed to use every single possibility that we can have in this UN framework. He will be traveling next month to the region, visiting both of the countries. We are encouraged because this will follow after a very long period of time of non-response from the Greek side. So now at least there will be a possibility for him to visit. But I believe what is more important than that is having a political commitment in Greece that they would like to see this issue behind us and Macedonia both in NATO and EU. If this is the case, then we have place for sending some positive messages. Without that, I don't think that there is any alternative framework that can provide us with the space for progress.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.